Hey everyone, Charlie here, and welcome back to the channel. This is, of course, One Cup of Japan. If you are new to the channel, One Cup of Japan is it's something like a video podcast, I guess, where we talk about a given topic while we enjoy a cup of something. Today, this is just bourbon on the rocks. I've just finished work. It wasn't actually a particularly difficult day, but it was tiring. It was very productive. So anyway, that's what we're drinking today. Ooh. First sip is always a little tough. Anyhow, today we're going to be talking about Kimetsu no Yaiba. Kimetsu no Yaiba is, it's a manga series. This is the first book, the first volume of that manga series. It is a Jump comic, as you can see here, Jump Comics written up in the corner. And it is probably the hottest thing in Japan right now. And it is the first anime or manga that I've been truly wrapped up in a very, very long time. The last time I was so interested in an anime was Gin no Saji, Silver Spoon, which I guess the last time I saw that anime must have been before I came to Japan, which is 6 years ago. The manga is still going now. They just started releasing new volumes of that one again, so probably gonna be picking that one up soon. But anyway, there goes my ring off my finger. I have kind of since coming here, I've developed something of a love-hate relationship with anime and manga. I think part of it is that so much of it feels like a waste of time. So much of it feels like such a waste of time. Particularly this genre, the shonen manga, shonen anime kind of genre always ends up feeling like a waste of time because it's always so damn formulaic. Particularly Jump, I feel like you can always rely on Jump for it to be a continuous series of okay, new bad guy who you can't defeat until you get a new transformation, and then you can defeat him until the next guy you can't defeat, and then you have to learn new transformation. But that style of comic just really doesn't appeal to me. I'm gonna be 33 tomorrow. And so what can I say? The Dragon Ball Naruto style of comic just doesn't really do it for me anymore. Apologies to all you fans for those things out there. It's perfectly fine if you're into it, but I'm not. And so that being said, I was really, really reticent to actually start reading this series, to start watching the series, which is actually where I began with the anime series on Netflix. Because I didn't want to get involved in something that tends to reinforce really kind of old ideas about what it means to be a boy and what it means to be a man and manliness and all this other shit that I'm just really, really tired of. There's that. There's also like I said, formulaic and being a waste of my time. And if I'm gonna read something, I want there to be kind of read or watch something. I want there to be something for me to get out of it, basically. Whether it's just a different way of thinking about something or whatever the case would be, something that's interesting, and so as I said, I was really reticent. My partner is really, really into this series. Binge watched it all in a couple days kind of thing, and kept recommending it to me. And then I watched the first episode of Netflix and I thought, okay, it's kind of interesting. Maybe this is an interesting idea. The main character Tanjiro is trying to save his sister, who's been bitten by a demon, or not bitten, has been turned into a demon by another demon, which is how you make demons apparently. How many times can you say demon in one sentence? It's basically his quest to change her from a demon back into a human. That's the idea. The inciting incident is her being changed into a demon and him finding his entire family killed. And his quest to turn that all around, right? So that's pretty interesting, but again, even that being said, I was like, okay, well, is this going to turn into just another big bad that he has to find, and then it's not going to be strong enough to beat him, so he's got to find a transformation or whatever. And to be honest, it could still be the case. For the anime series, I think I'm about halfway through. I personally am I've only read through the third volume of this. My partner has read through to 7, I think, maybe to 6. So far, so good. The animation, I think, is really quite beautiful. For those of you who are fans of the video game series Okami, I really recommend it. No, generally the animation is not in that style, but when the main characters, not the main characters, when the characters perform their katas, their like their main attacks kind of thing, not their katas, their waza, their like skill. A lot of times it's in sort of like a very like a ukiyo-e kind of style, so very much like okami. It's very beautiful in that sense, so I really enjoyed that. And so I guess if I'm meant to give any review, which is not the point of my talking about it today, it's that I would say so far it's really, really interesting. The animation is beautiful. It's a compelling story so far. But I think one of the things the anime, not just the anime, but the series does really, really so well is it paints the most interesting villains. Paints these really, really interesting villains. And now, in this world, and I apologize if I give you any spoilers, maybe I should say that ahead of time. I'm not going to edit in a spoiler thing because that's not how one Cuppa goes. But what am I trying to say? If there are spoilers, I apologize. But basically, the world of Kimetsu no Yaiba, from the beginning, is this? It seems almost very black and white, right? Like there are humans, and then there are demons who feed upon the humans, and those are the bad guys. That's like your very first impression. But because of this setup where Tanjiro's sister Nezuko, who's freaking funny as hell, by the way, is changed into a demon, and you're introduced almost immediately to sort of the grays between the black and the white there. Because very quickly you see that Nezuko does not really want to be like, does not want to fall in this rule of like man-eating demon kind of thing, right? And one thing that is expanded upon it again and again in the series so far is this idea that from the perspective of people, the demons are the bad guys. And actually in the ways that the demons are portrayed, in their actions, they're very much the bad guys. You know, they're very like, you know, ha ha ha, I'm gonna eat you and kill you and blah 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 kind of thing. And the language they use is very crass and that kind of thing, and so it makes it always from your first impression you're grossed out because there's like demons that are literally made of hands, and things like that, which is really strange. But I think what the series does so well, something maybe the Marvel movies could learn from, is kind of painting these really sympathetic villains. And it's something that I found really compelling and really did not expect from Jump Comics. Did not expect from Shonen comic in part at all, I guess. And now I guess it'll be a little bit of a spoiler in the way I'm going to talk about this to illustrate my point. But maybe the first like big like bad demon that you meet in the story is the Teoni, which means hand demon. And as I say, he's literally this demon that's just made out of hands. Like his whole body is just hands that are contorted all around him and shit. He's like a boa constrictor made out of hands. Like he's holding onto his face and you just see his eyes and he's like this and that kind of thing. And yeah, he's super creepy. And so the things that he says, like you find out that he's killed a lot of people, and you know he's killed these people who have just become very important to the protagonist. And so you want him to die. You're like, okay, well you want Tanjiro to kill this guy in some cool way. But what you find out about through sort of like some of the exposition of the story is that when whoever this demon was before he was a demon was changed into a demon, what he did was he ate his brother. He ate his big brother. And there's this scene both in the manga and in the anime where he's asking himself like, why, brother, why did I do what I did to you kind of thing. And he's like, please hold my hand just like you always did, or just like you always do. And he's, repeating himself and that kind of thing. And then it gets to this point where he he forgets who his brother is. You know, he just repeats it over and over again. Please hold my hand. Please hold my hand. And then he's like, "Oniisan wa dare dattakke?" Right? Who was that person I'm calling brother? Like, kind of thing. He's forgotten, you know. And I think that's been something that's been really well done throughout the series. Is that, yeah, there's these demons are disgusting, and what they've become is certainly deplorable, and someone you root to be defeated, basically. But the series does this really good job of making them sympathetic, and causing you to sympathize with them, and I think that's something that's unusual. You know, it's really unusual. Really, maybe in any kind of popular. In any kind of pop culture is to really make the villains have any sort of depth, and particularly in the anime, because the anime typically, like, one monster, one demon is like maybe 3 episodes at most, so you get to see them like fighting the protagonist or one of the other combatant characters, and then you get like a little snippet of their backstory, and you're like, oh well, shit. And I think one of the things that sets it apart from other stories that have kind of some like these similar themes, that some of these kind of like tropes of the genre, right? Like the demon or monster genre kind of thing, the monster slaying genre, if that can be said to be a genre in its own right, is that you come to understand that now the demons are bad, right? Like they're doing bad things, they're killing people in really bad ways. Like today there was an episode we were watching before I went to work that was like, there were like these spider demons, and one of the things they do is they trap people in like a ball of web, and then the web like secretes like an enzyme that slowly dissolves the person inside until they're just like, you know, a smoothie, which is real gross. But anyway, what I want to say is that what you come to realize, and what the anime sort of does in a very actually kind of a subtle way, I think, without beating you over the head with it, is that they're all victims. Every one of these creatures, every one of these demons is a victim of unfortunate circumstance, right? Like the protagonist's sister, whom I've mentioned, Nezuko. You know, she didn't ask to be changed into a demon, and to have like this bloodlust kind of thing. And it's the same for every demon in the series. At least we think so. Where none of them have asked to be changed into a demon. At least from what I watched, I should say that. Limited to what I watched so far. And I think that's super compelling. I think that's super compelling. So I'm definitely gonna keep reading it. My fiance was nice enough to buy these for us to read. So I'm gonna keep reading through these while. Probably at the same time as I watch the manga, but what did I want to say? I think at first I was a little bit concerned if I'm going to talk about kind of like the other side of the story, right, the other side of the coin here. I was a little bit concerned that they were like going to go the route of like, because basically it's a samurai story, right? Like this kid Tanjiro, as you can see here, he's holding a katana, and he's very much kind of like a lot of these characters very like classic samurai story type of characters, right? And there's a scene early on in the anime and the manga where there's another character that comes in by the name of Sabito, and he's saying to Tanjiro, the main character, if you're a man, if you're born a man, then you don't complain about your problems, you don't say anything out loud, you just sort of like, you know, you gamang. You know, kind of gaman shiro kind of thing, like where you just sort of, you keep your mouth shut, and you're very stoic. Stoic is the word I'm looking for. You're very stoic about it, and you just kind of push through. And I was a little bit concerned that it was going to turn this thing of like, okay, well, if you're a man, then you do this and all this other shit, and I just don't want to deal with it, that kind of thing. And so, but and to be fair, in some ways, I think it is unfortunate, because in some ways it does kind of enforce that a little bit, that idea of what a man is, what a strong boy is, and all the other kind of thing. But I think much more so, surprisingly, the anime is refreshing. I keep saying the anime. The series is refreshing in that it it makes, how can I say, it makes it cool almost, or it it paints compassion as a positive trait in men. Compassion and mercy and feeling, I guess. We talked about the hand demon, right, Teoni, a few minutes ago here, and it, as I said, it's the first like big monster, like kind of strong monster that the main character goes up against, and I guess I should have explained this earlier. I didn't think it would come up, but the only way that you can kill a demon in this world is either it's exposed to sunlight, like a vampire kind of thing, or you have to chop its neck off. You have to cut its head off. You have to, bisect the body and the head using a special katana that's made from like a special metal from like a mountain that's touched by sunlight all year. And those are the only ways you can kill a demon, with some exceptions apparently. But after Tanjiro cuts off the head of this hand demon, the demon's head is literally laying on the ground, and like, of course it's this way, so his perspective is his point of view is kind of strange because his head's laying this way and his body is dissolving because he's dying, and he's really angry because he's expecting Tanjiro to look at him like he's a piece of garbage and that he's better than him, and he just wants him to die, and he's expecting these eyes filled with hatred. And when he looks at Tanjiro, is he sees these eyes of remorse isn't the right word, sympathy, or I guess sympathy is pretty good, where Tanjiro looks at him like, I'm sorry it had to be this way, but you were going to hurt a lot of people, and this is the only way, kind of thing. And that happens again and again throughout the series, where Tanjiro shows compassion to people that maybe he doesn't need to, and who maybe aren't deserving of it. And I said that I talked a little bit last time about depression and something like that, and it's something I've thought about a lot, is about how, when you're depressed, or you have any kind of mental condition, or even something I've talked about before with some of my girlfriends, don't misunderstand, friends that are female, I don't know why I need to explain that, but my female friends, my girlfriends, is that, for example, if like premenstrual syndrome, PMS, that kind of thing too, is that even if there's a condition that makes you act in a certain way, you still owe people an apology. And it's something that I've had to deal with depression, and when I've made really bad decisions when I was depressed, is that I was still responsible for the things that I did. And it's something that I found really, really compelling, I think, when watching this series, is that even though these demons are victims of their circumstance, they still chose to sort of like fall in line with what that role was supposed to be, the role of demon. And that's a choice they made, and you meet other demon characters who aren't making that same choice. But even so, even though they've made that choice under duress, I guess you could say, or under unfortunate circumstances, Tanjiro still forgives them, and says, I know that there are circumstances out of your control that are leading to this, and yes, probably you could have made better choices despite the circumstances, but I still pity you. I pity you, I sympathize with you as someone. You used to be a human being, I am a human being. You had dreams and they were robbed from you, that kind of thing. And so all this to say that it's been really, really interesting for me, I think, to read this. There have been some really pleasant surprises. As I said, it's really nice to see a character, particularly in these books that are made for young boys, or younger boys, that shows a character that's compassionate and shows his feelings and that kind of thing. And also, it's been really, really interesting to see stories that have villains with depth, that have some kind of, there's no explanation for their villainy, but there is, it makes you feel for the villain. And it's like, okay, well, I love the Marvel movies, but that's, it would be nothing new for me to say I think the villains are kind of one-dimensional. a lot of the time. And I think that's something that's really, really refreshing about this. So probably already belabored the point is a hallmark of this series. But without belaboring it further, let me know in the comments down below if you are reading Kimetsu no Yaiba or you're watching the anime series on Netflix. This is like, it's so incredibly popular. The last time I experienced a fad that was this popular, or a trend that was this big, was when I first moved here, and it was like in the height of like yokai watch craziness. And so to be actually like in the thick of it, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of strange. But it's cool, you know. I guess apparently this is like really popular worldwide, and for like 2 or 3 weeks you couldn't find this in the bookstores. It's completely sold out, and we just got lucky yesterday and we decided we'd pick it up while we had the chance, kind of thing. So it's been a really interesting read. But yeah, I'd love to hear like your thoughts about some of the things I talked about about Tanjiro being like this really like compassionate character, about the backstories of the villains or the monsters and why they are the way they are, and that kind of thing. You know, get at me on Twitter, get at me in the comments down below. That'd be cool to hear from you guys as always. The other thing I want to talk about is, by the time this episode goes live, this is the first episode of whatever season this turns out to be once I figure out the playlist and everything like that. My Patreon will be live, so please check that out. If you don't feel at this time that it's something worth supporting financially, that's fine. Just I'd love if you guys just stuck around the channel and gave it your time and gave it your listen, that kind of thing. There are some cool perks I think that you're gonna find over there on Patreon. I'm really excited to do that. I'm also really scared to do that, because I'm making the video at a separate time from when it will go live, and when the Patreon will go live. Probably I'm not going to embed it into the video itself, the Patreon link, but you will be able to find it down in the description section below the video. So please at the very least check it out. Please follow me on Twitter at @CHaywardJr, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.